So the classroom context for this intentional observation is an AP Environmental Science class. There are two sections of the class. They meet every other day. We're on a rotating block schedule, and students have four academic classes on gold days and another four academic classes on blue days. So I see the students about 2 to 3 times a week, and the block length is about 75 minutes per class. One section has 20 seniors, and the other section has 16 seniors. And the context for this particular observation is earlier in the year, of course, now it's about 7 weeks ago. Students were understanding and working on understanding biogeochemical cycles in nature and systems thinking, and understanding how nutrients such as carbon, phosphorus, oxygen, sulfur, hydrogen, nitrogen move through living systems and also abiotic components of ecosystems on a cycle. The students in the class and general at Campbell Hall are highly able, motivated learners. About 99% of our students that attend Campbell Hall graduate and go on to attend four-year colleges and universities, with an occasional student doing a gap year or electing not to attend college after graduation. For this particular lesson, the materials that we needed were really pretty simple, just large poster paper, some colored pencils and some markers, internet-enabled computers so they could do some research. All right, for this lesson, the artistic strategy was depiction. Students were asked to work in small groups of two, sometimes three, and their goal was to generate a visual representation of a specific biogeochemical cycle. They're randomly assigned to a cycle by spinning a wheel that I put together on Super Teacher Tools, and the wheel had the particular biogeochemical cycle on it, so it's somewhat random. Here, let's take a look. So here on this site, the students would click on this and the wheel would spin and wind up on one of these cycles, and then that group would have that particular cycle. And it was okay for some groups, in fact more than one group, to have a particular cycle. In the case of class of 20, a good number of students with a carbon cycle. Obviously there's five cycles here, so both oxygen and hydrogen represented by water as well. All right, and they made posters that depicted the cycles, and their goal was to share their completed posters with their classmates. I posted most of these on our haiku site, although not all of them. A couple of cycles I chose not to post, but they shared their posters with their classmates and explaining kind of how the nutrients cycled through the system. Both the abiotic and biotic components of the ecosystem. So here's an example of student work here, the nitrogen cycle. You can see that they've been pretty creative. You've got incorporation of nitrogen into animals and plants, through animals eating plant material. You've got the ammonification step where nitrogen is converted into ammonium, and then through bacteria in the soil into nitrates. And again, another conversion step into nitrites into nitrates, rather. And then you have that form is usable by plant material. Occasionally, a small percentage of nitrogen in the atmosphere. The atmosphere is 78% nitrogen, roughly, but that occasionally gets converted into nitrates by lightning. So let's see, other examples of student work. Here's a depiction of the carbon cycle, really nice one. Again, students used a model for this one but they kind of gave it their own interpretation and their own custom look. But they were going off of a model they found on the internet. But you've got human extraction of fossil fuels bringing carbon to the Earth's surface where it can be combusted. You've got atmospheric carbon represented, and then you've got carbon cycling through producers, consumers, and decomposers, and terrestrial systems and aquatic or marine ecosystems as well. So really nice with a representation of photosynthesis and then respiration, releasing carbon back to the atmosphere. There's a different take on the carbon cycle, a little more simplistic, but still representing the general trend with carbon both having an atmospheric component and a terrestrial or land-based component. Okay, quick depiction of the sulfur cycle here. Another one of the phosphorus cycle. Another student. It's kind of a simple version, but definitely showing how the phosphorus cycle is really locked. There's no atmospheric component to the phosphorus cycle here, so they did a nice job showing how phosphorus basically is a nutrient that cycles through ecosystems through the process of weathering and decay of rocks and minerals. Okay, so the students in general appreciated the chance to express their understanding in using a creative format. Not just in visual terms. Often they'll use a podcast format or a presentation where they're presenting to the class. Sometimes we'll do video production as well. Both classes enjoyed working together in small groups, listening to music as a class while sketching the various cycles. This happened over parts of 2 class periods, and a couple of groups took a little extra time. While some students were really dependent on the internet for images, others just kind of took what they knew from the reading and from presentations in class, and they did their cycles from scratch. And this was a nice change in pace from a regular class, although there is essentially no regular class. We're doing a lot of labs and occasional lectures as well. So a much more relaxing environment. A couple of students didn't really contribute very much to the development of their partner's poster, and we had a conversation about an appropriate grade given the level of effort or non-effort in those cases. So this was a simple look at using art in science. We do a bunch of different sort of approaches to this. Music is one way that some students will contribute during sort of an open format presentation of content. We have a number of students that are really musically gifted at our school, and they'll create original compositions and present those. We have something that we started using last year, which are chalk markers that students will have them use the chalk markers to draw on the epoxy lab surfaces or the lab tables, and the lab tables are black and the markers are bright. We've got neon colored markers and a bunch of different types, and the students really appreciate the chance to actually draw. They'll outline their notes right on the table and take a picture. A lot of students will actually post these on Instagram or one of their social media sites, and that's been a fun way for students to practice depiction in science class. Thanks so much for the time, and I hope you learned something.